All right, Larsa and Marcus. Marcus, the last time I was here, you were hiding in a room back there. So what's it like to be out in the world talking about things now?
It's definitely a little different now. I think we were both just being cautious early on just because there was so much chatter about our relationship. But now, we're in the public about it and it's way more easier.
The cat's definitely out of the bag.
Out of the bag,
Yes,
sure.
you were trying to keep it in the bag as long as possible.
You're right.
Who made the ultimate call of like, hey, I just want to put it out there finally?
I think it was a more gradual thing because,
Okay.
for us, our relationship was like playing out in the media in real time. Like we weren't dating and wanted to spend a lot of time together. And then all of a sudden, I think we just flipped the switch.
I think when you're dating publicly where you're just like hanging out and it's not, serious or anything, I think it's hard because you're like still trying to figure out what it is. And then like all this stuff is being said that, oh, you guys are like hiding and you're lying and all this stuff. And really, we were just hanging out as friends.
Yeah.
We had just started hanging out as friends. So I feel like that's kind of what was the motivational thing for us. It was like, okay, fine, like now we're dating. So now should we tell everyone?
Well, we spent some time together during the holidays. She
Yeah.
came and visited some of my family. I visited some of her family. So I think that's kind of what, once we realized our families were okay with it, then I feel like that was easier for us.
Larsa always described you as her friend when asked. Did you feel any type of way about that, or is that a discussion you two had of like, here's how I'm gonna talk to the world?
No, I didn't feel away because we were friends, and we also talked for like 3 years before we actually decided to meet up. So we were friends always first.
Yeah, you talk about this on the podcast, Separation Anxiety,
Yeah.
of you thought this guy's just my friend, I'm gonna set him up with the girls in my group, he's a great guy. What was the moment where it clicked for you of like, oh, no, this is a guy for me, not for somebody else?
We were hanging out and we were at a club and I feel like there was someone that was trying to talk to him and I just kind of felt like, no, I kind of think he's cute now. I don't know what it was, but I remember that night vividly because I remember thinking like, do I kind of have more feelings for him than just, a friend? Then I kind of started thinking like, no, he's my guy. He's not for anyone else. Like, no.
And then for you, what was the moment?
I'm not sure. Obviously, she's a beautiful woman inside and out, and so I was always attracted to her. I never thought it was something that could be real, I just wanted to spend more time with her and like hang out, and then it just kind of gradually happened. But I think I came down here originally for like 2 nights, thinking I was just gonna come to Miami and hang out. And that ultimately snowballed into like 12 nights where we were just inseparable, hanging out all the time. And so I think somewhere in the course of those 12 days was like, all right, this is the one.
You obviously grew up somewhat in the public eye, but this is a different level of public attention for you than ever before. So what's it been like to navigate that, and did you give him any advice about how to handle this?
It's definitely different. I had a more private upbringing even today. My family is still, very private people. But I feel like I've taken it graciously. I don't know. It's definitely, there's a small learning curve, but I feel like I'm learning every day.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm just, I kind of give him advice sometimes. I'm like, this is not Orlando. Like this, because I feel like being in Orlando, I think it's like smaller and now you're like on a bigger stage.
Yeah.
There are more people watching.
For sure. I've always navigated. I mean, obviously my last name is a very big last name, so I've always navigated as if I was in the public eye, but now it's a little different.
You gave up your anonymity a long time ago.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really open. Like I'm open on social media. I feel like I like to share a lot of my life with people, like my experiences, the things I'm going through. So for me, I feel like I've just always been an open book. So, being on a TV show or a podcast is just another form of me just sharing my life.
Yeah, and a chance this time, you're in control of the conversation. It's not somebody editing you a certain way, pulling apart certain words. Was that why you wanted to do the podcast, to finally get to control your narrative?
I think so. I feel like a lot was being said about us all the time. I feel like there's so much that's said about me that I just kind of have always been like, that's so not true. That's not true. And so I figured like, hey, let's do a podcast where we could basically give our opinions, state the facts, because a lot of stuff that they say is inaccurate.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of misconceptions and, people think Larsa used to babysit me and stuff like that. And so, I think the separation anxiety gives us, just an opportunity to put things in our own voice.
Yeah, I know you clear this up on the podcast, but let's clear it up for ET too. You did not know each other before meeting just a few years ago.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Would that, you say that's the biggest misconception that's out there about your situation, is that your families were these like intertwined and always around each other group of people.
Yeah, that's not what it was.
Exactly. No, I think, a lot of people think we spent a lot of time together while I was young, and honestly, we met 4 years ago and didn't talk so often early on, but then I think over time we started to gradually become better friends.
Yeah. I feel like people think that I feel like they've called me your auntie. And I'm like, hello, what are you talking about?
Obviously, we didn't know each other. Our families weren't so intertwined as people would think.
Going into business together with the podcast, has that changed the dynamic at all, or have you learned something about the other that you didn't quite know until you were working together?
I think it's funny. A lot of the conversations that we're having on the podcast, sometimes it's the first time we've had them even within our relationship. And so I think on the podcast we talked about like having kids and, just the dynamic of dating someone with kids. And so we've definitely had some of those in-depth conversations before, but on the podcast, it kind of makes them real.
It's almost like it's therapy.
What is your favorite thing about Larsa?
My favorite thing about Larsa is definitely her personality. I think she's so bubbly and fun and loving and caring. And so there's never a bad day hanging with Larsa.
No, that's cute, thank you.
And what's your favorite thing about Marcus?
I feel like Marcus is really fun and smart and really creative. Like he helps me in so many different ways.
Your family's history is, of course, big conversation. Have you now officially met the Jordans, and what's the review from your side of the family?
Yeah, we spent Thanksgiving together last year, and my family loves her. They think she's great, and ultimately, I think my family just wants to see me happy, and so as long as I'm happy, they're happy with whoever I'm dating.
I feel like it's been fun. It's been a fun journey for us.
For sure.
They have anything to say when this was first starting to get reported, like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah,
what do we need to be prepped for?
I feel like everyone texted you.
Everybody
like,
had an opinion
on?
at first. I think there was some shock and interest early on, but I think that was the whole point of us trying to spend some family time together during the holidays was, at least for me, if we're going to be in the media, I kind of need to introduce you to my mom and my mom's side and my dad's side, et cetera. And so I think that went well, and so far, so good.
All right, so we've got the Michael Jordan stamp of approval on Larsa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then, Larsa, has Scotty had anything to say about this, or?
No, I feel like we haven't had that conversation. I kind of feel like I don't really ask, him what is going on in his personal life. He doesn't really ask me what's going on in my personal life. And I feel like there's so much time that has gone, by with us not being together. It's been like 5 years.
Yeah, you don't owe him any explanation on what you're doing, and vice versa.
I kind of feel like I want to see him happy, and I think he wants to see me happy. And I think other people view it differently than how we view it. I wouldn't care if he dated someone that I knew or whatever. I wouldn't care.
What if it was one of your Miami co-stars?
I would wish him nothing but luck. It would be great.
You might want to set him up if you wanted like revenge.
I know. It would be very fun and toxic.
You mentioned dating someone with kids. What has the kids' review of Marcus been?
They love Marcus. Like, they literally love him.
Her kids have been very gracious and welcoming to me, so I appreciate that.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Having a child was always so far out of my mind frame, but there's definitely thoughts that I'm having around, is it a possibility? How soon?
Time is clicking.
Oh, I know.
It's ticking and clicking.
You did talk about kids on the podcast, and you, I think, surprised Marcus with a timeline. You were like, it's the next 2 years or never. So has that conversation continued off the podcast?
We kind of had that conversation last night.
Yeah, it is funny. When my mom heard the podcast, she sent me like 11 egg emojis, and it was like, oh my gosh, wow. So I don't know. I think every day we're progressing towards, having that conversation.
Yeah, I feel like there's not, I feel like I have 4 kids. I'm blessed. I love being a mom. You don't have any kids, and you.
Trophy room has been my kid.
Right.
At least that's how
I feel like it's basically Marcus's decision on if he wants to have kids. I feel like I'm great, but if you wanted to have children,
you would want
maybe.
to give him that if he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like they're in time. Like, I would never want him to miss out on that, because I feel like I love my kids so much, and there's like not a more like love there.
Yeah, and she's like best friends with her kids too. She talks to them constantly, and so it's pretty admirable actually.
So what phase of your relationship would you say you're in? Are we still in the honeymoon phase? Are we moving into a more serious phase?
I think we're in a more serious phase, but there's still that honeymoon level attraction there.
Yeah.
You know, we still enjoy like spending a lot of time together and making sure, you know, we keep each other in the loop with what's going on in our independent lives as well. So I'd say we're definitely in the serious realm, but still attracted to each other like honeymooners.
Totally. You know what? I feel like we're just like best friends, and we like to do everything together. And I always wanted a relationship like this. I never had a relationship like this where we're literally wanting to do the same thing at the same time. We work together side by side. I feel like it's a great place to be.
It's checking every box for you.
It really is. And it was hard for me. I feel like I was single for a long time, and I just couldn't find someone that made me feel good and like someone that I wanted to grow with. And lo and behold, he was right there.
How does that make you feel to hear her say that you're essentially her dream mate?
Yeah, it makes me feel great. You know, obviously she makes me feel, you know, great all the time as well. And I don't know, I think we both came into this relationship wanting to make each other better and to like be complimentary versus toxic or anything like that. And so
my gosh.
I think that's helping us out.
So do we see marriage in the future?
Hopefully. I think it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
I think so.
Have you told them what kind of diamond you like?
Oh, I already know. It's got to be huge. It's got to be huge.
I feel like he already knows.
We've got the same taste, so
Yes, we
you
like
know,
the
I
same
like
thing.
expensive things, and she likes slightly more expensive things.
Hate all you want, because if I were you, I'd hate me too.
Housewives, you're in the middle of filming this season. I know you can't really say anything, but how's it going?
We just came back from our cast trip. I think it's going really well. I think it's a good run this season.
How do you feel about filming and the show in general, I guess?
I definitely feel like it's entertaining this season. There's been a lot going on. Even when Larsa's away, she'll call me when she gets a break and says, "Oh my gosh, you won't believe this happened, that happened." But you know, it has its moments. You know, I enjoy being with her, so whenever we have to film, you know, it's not an issue. But some days can be taxing.
Have you
for
been
sure.
dragged into any drama?
I have a bite mark
You have a bite mark?
from one of the cast members from a few days ago.
It's not for me.
Yeah, no.
Not a love bite.
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was a love bite, but one of the girls bit me the other day, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna
This
get.
season's kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, there was this alleged drink toss that,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
did you really throw a drink on Adriana?
I threw a drink.
Drinks were thrown.
Drinks were thrown. Drinks were thrown. But it wasn't in a mean or malicious way, but drinks were definitely thrown.
Okay. You're adjusting the collar there.
I'm
Is
trying to
it
leave that one alone.
is it tough to watch her navigate that drama? Because I would imagine as a partner, you want to jump in and defend her and fight for her too.
Well, Larsa's a strong person. Most of the time, she handles it herself. I don't think there's ever been an occasion, at least on the show, that I've had to, you know, intervene. But she's strong-willed. I chalk it up to just Larsa being the little larcenist that she is
Every now
from
and then
time
I'm
to
the
time.
larcenist, but I try not to be.
Yeah.
Have they tried to drag him into any drama?
I feel like a little bit.
Actually, yeah, there was a time where
Yes.
I got asked a question while something was playing out on camera. So I try to stay far, far away from any of the drama.
Yeah, you know what? When we film, I kind of want, when Marcus is around, I want it to be more of like us just hanging out like how we normally would. I don't want to put him in any of the drama on the show. And I feel like on this kind of cast, there's always drama.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, just come to dinner. It's just dinner. And then before you know it, it's like, there's drinks being thrown around. People are biting each other. It's, you know, we never start off that way. It just kind of ends up that way.
Yeah, you're walking into a firing squad and you don't know it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the show making the move back to Bravo?
I'm super excited. I feel like Bravo is the place for us. I feel like our show has done well. You know, the cast is evolved, and I feel like Miami is amazing. It's the hottest city on the planet. So I think, you know, Bravo's a great place for us.